a real treat for all the listeners today. I'm going to do an interview with Golden Wizard. Golden Wizard is a Pinscher Chihuahua cross that is a canine that knows the human world better than the humans know the human world. And he's author of a canine book that's called The Crime Log, where he keeps track of humans and makes sure that they follow proper human protocol. So, talking for Golden Wizard today will be Karen, the social worker, and she'll also be talking for herself at times, and it's up to the discriminating ear to know who Karen is talking for. So, how are you doing today, Golden Wizard?
Golden Wizard started out today befuffed. Breakfast biscuit time did not start according to the way it's supposed to start. He's supposed to eat his breakfast biscuit with all of the other, and I do not facilitate that because you got to pick and choose, Golden Wizard. Do you want to be a star and people to know your ways, or do you want? He's looking at me like that's a tough one, but a cookie would not hurt the situation. All right. Cookie?
Cookie.
Yes. So he's quite befuffed and he's pacing back and forth. He has let me know several times that I am not following protocol. So I must apologize that he's not on point right now.
It's okay. We can talk about the trials and tribulations of Golden Wizard and his cast of canine characters that allow parallel to the trials and tribulations of the New Way and our cast of human characters.
Well, I think it would be helpful for everyone to first know how I came to Golden Wizard. Golden Wizard was dumped on my with another miniature pinscher chihuahua, and I saw that they were out of place. And when I first saw them out the car of my window, my car window, and when I first, which is not a busy, it's like a neighborhood street. There was tall grass in someone's yard, and he was jumping, hopping like a bunny in and out of the tall grass, following who's Roxy that got adopted out because she has this like great, even, calm temperament, and she's like the quintessential family dog. But we could not adopt him out. I do know that he was dumped because at 5 o'clock or 4 to 5 o'clock, I started walking the dogs and asking people around the neighborhood, have you seen this dog? And I got two witnesses. One who was a teacher at Bishop Lynch High School is like, yeah, I saw dump them out on the street this morning. And another guy that was doing yard work early in the morning, he's like, yeah, I saw this car sped down after they dumped these two dogs out. So enter, I swear to God, my mother is like a saint for animals, and I think she keeps sending animals my way. It's becoming a wayward home for all animals. But yeah, so at first I thought he was a girl, and I just was like, well, his fur is like gold, so I called him Goldie. And then I picked him up. I was like, wait, you're a man. So then I was like, all right, Gold, these huge ears. And it reminded me of that sorting hat for Hogwarts School of Wizardry. And I was Golden Wizard. And I am telling you, he has lived up to every inch of that name. And he literally has the boldest person for the miniature pinscher in combination with the boldest from the Chihuahua.
So essentially, Golden Wizard is a bulked up, steroided rendition of the Taco Bell Chihuahua. That dog doesn't hold a candle to what Golden Wizard is capable of, yes?
Oh, this boy, he is a piece of work. Like huge. But he has a system, and it works, and everybody just adapts to his system. Although I have to say that at the time that he entered the home, there was a male dog, Smokey, and Smokey D basically kicked Golden Wizard's ass, and Golden Wizard got a taste of like what it means to be. He never stepped a toe into the territory to do anything to upset the older alpha male Smokey D, and he actually loves the little scar he has on him because he says that they're like battle wounds. He wears the scar proudly now. Like I defended myself, you know, that kind of thing. So it works to his advantage. It shows girls that he's tough. He loves girls, girl dogs, girl humans.
I love girls too, so we're in the same page.
Oh, kitty cat.
Yes, that's how he is. And one time, he loves super. He he views himself as a and, and one time he made a beeline toward a brunette. He loves brunette, and he never did that before, never. And when we got to her, I said, "I am so sorry." She's like, "He's so cute." So then she said, "I love." He had a cape on that day, a Superman cape, and she had the very same emblem matching Superman ring. I think she had a Superman ring on.
That makes
And
sense.
here he chimes in. Yeah?
Hey, Golden Wizard,
What do you
great
want
to have you.
what do you want to say? Hmm?
Can you tell me why did you ever get the crime log penalty resolved with the former owners, or are they still carrying that weight? Really?
He said they're carrying the weight. They
Yeah.
have okay. He said they have he said in human world uh-huh. Okay. In human sorry, this is him. But in human we have um death sentence or lifelong sentences. They have a lifetime crime log. Even though he had fun hopping in the grass, it did strike um, Roxy, who he kind of big sister, and he doesn't like anyone who stresses out Roxy is.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. You don't want to stress out anybody, but the human world today is built on stressing out each other, and somehow we all get real stressed out.
He said yes, and I don't like that. If you guys would just listen to me, then you would not have. Canines are all about keeping order.
Okay. Are there enough cookies for all the humans in the world?
Okay, can't say the C word.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Um, he said only if it's not about enough as much as it is about distribution. Distribution should be fair. You eat what's yours, I'll eat what's mine.
So the folks like Einstein who finishes his own and then goes to see what tripod isn't done with and pushes tripod out of the way
That's
don't
a
get
crime log
much
entry.
power.
That's a crime
That's a
log
crime
entry.
log. Okay. So how do I teach Einstein to not crime log in when there's no alpha dog here?
He
I
said,
mean,
well,
really,
he said, okay, I understand your message. He says, Dr. Lenny, you're smarter than that. They're felines. They're not. He's like, he's here today to talk about how canine order is useful and for people, not felines.
you see where Dr. Lenny is trying to take all of the rules of the animal kingdom and apply them to the plant kingdom and the rock kingdom to see which things are not at all applicable. And he's learning from the manner that Golden Wizard operates as the alpha dog in his own environment. But Dr. Lenny's not really an alpha dog, he's an omega dog. But he is a dog by the Chinese calendar, and I guess we just went into the year of the pig. So I'm not sure of how the world works, but the world works in funny ways, and the funny ways that the world works are just too funny to explain sometimes.
He said he has tried to get the felines to listen to him, but he doesn't bother.
I see.
He says when he has his humans under control, it gets felines under. So it's like a trickling down situation.
Yeah, so the canine operates to control the human, who then has its own different resonance with the feline that is outside the boundaries of the common. And so whoever is the animal that is responsible for the entire household, well, that's obviously got to be a canine, right?
Well, he would think so, but the working theory our household runs under is that we have to be the. I am not the pack leader. Joel definitely is, and Joel has a whole lot different impact on him than I do. Because he is calm. I am like hyper assertive, and that's kind of how Golden Wizard and I both have similar energy. So he doesn't really respond very well to my energy.
I see, but he's in himself already got an energy where you can facilitate what he wants and communicate with him. But his relationship with Joel, maybe he should tell me a little bit more about Joel. Does Joel respond to him, or does he respond to Joel?
Both.
Okay.
He says he would rather talk about that word you said, communication.
Okay.
Because he wants you to know that he has got the best of the miniature pinscher breed and the best of the Chihuahua breed. And that he excels in communication. And unlike other dogs, he can respond to sign language. And he understands, we're estimating about 26, 25, maybe about 20 English. And his body language and his eyes are very clear to us about what he's communicating. And anytime that we say, "Are you saying this?" Like, he shows and validates, like, "You got it." I mean, there is like he's like an advanced communicator.
I see. And so the impression that he delivers is speaking with his eyes, which is great, except that this is radio. I'd love to be able to post the pictures that you sent me this morning of Golden Wizard in action, because they definitely show one of the most photogenic pets that I have ever seen. But I use pet in the relative sense because I believe that humans are pets to the canines in the same bonded relationship that humans view their canines as pets. And
Well,
so it's a
you
two-way
know he
street.
barked earlier. You have to understand that when he was barking, he
Mm-hmm.
was talking. He saw where
I
the sound
understand
was
that
coming
completely.
out of, and he was barking towards it, and you can see the message because barking is while he doesn't do it 24/7, he wants you to know that barking is a very self-rewarding.
Yes.
By barking, he can make things.
I think that Izzy, the Wonder Dog, has some problems with her barking because sometime when she was young, she must have had some throat damage. And instead of coming off as the gruff, ruff, ruff, she has a real high, squeaky ruff. And it sounds funny coming from such a big dog to have such a weird little bark. And I think that maybe they made fun of her when she was growing up so that she doesn't bark much. But when she does bark, it takes her a little while to get out of the little girl voice, and then she gets into a pit bull voice. But bulldogs are not the smartest dog in the deck. And whereas I had a bulldog who is the absolute smartest girl you've ever seen named Tootsie, Izzy as a pit bull was not gifted with that sort of brain. She is a physical talent, but 10 seconds into it, she forgets her rhythm of what she was thinking, and any distraction is always welcome. It's funny. I talk to her sometimes and I say, Izzy, what do you think? And then I pause and I get the impression that I called her to attention and she wasn't thinking at all.
Well, I'm reading some comments in the chat room, Doctor, and one of our commenters said, Golden Wizard has a crime log. Golden
Well, yes,
Wizard. Golden Wizard. Do you believe that do you believe that you have a crime log? Do you believe that you Hmm? He's looking, he's wagging his tail, he's thinking about thinking. Think. He heard a little a prompt or a noise that you hear in the
okay.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be responding like a little impish, like not like embarrassed. He never thought about people crimes about him. He says he's not sure one really exists.
Meow.
Really? And he said, and if there is one, I'm not going to bother because I'm going to keep the eye on my environment, my little space in this world. Everybody's
I,
else's business is not my business. I just need to worry about the business of the people in my media environment. And as long as everybody follows the structure, it's all good.
and each of us have rules that we have our own crime log that we keep for ourselves. And because other people should act like we act, we all keep crime logs on each other. And so the crime log is a basic, useful canine protocol to make sure that the humans under their domain have good behavior, right?
He said it's not so much about good versus bad behavior, because that's all in the eye of the beholder. Dr. Lenny, that's his
Yes.
voice. He said, Dr.
Yes.
Lenny,
Oh,
it's all about. See, what you need to realize is that the behavior is all about following the rules. Just stick to, and everything's good.
okay. But
When you
what happens?
deviate from the plan, and I get you humans think too much, and just stick with your pack, stick to the rule. Harmony.
What if we're working in the absence of rules?
He said, "Oh, he's looking at me like, there should be no absence. Rules is what keeps us safe. Rules is what keeps order for us. Rules are the whole reason behind."
I see. And at different levels, there are rules. But on human scale, the rules that humans impose on humans are not humane anymore. And we can see that in that they've named the
Stop
place
it!
where
Stop
they
it!
keep.
Stop, Doctor Lane.
Okay.
Human scale, humans rules imposed on humans. How many humans are there? How many dogs do you think there are in the world? The
That's
rules
a good
are for
point.
my immediate pack. Period. Rule locally, operate locally.
I see. And so, in order to have human cooperation, each of the immediate packs have to be under control.
He would say yes. But right now, he is on alert because he hears wind chimes and he needs to investigate. So he's looking out the window. But knowing my child, my fur baby, he would say yes. And when packs, oh, you're back. Okay, so when packs run into they read energy, and if the energy is cool, things are cool between two packs, because the leader of the pack and then the leader of the other kind of say, look, I've assessed this pack as okay, and so therefore you're gonna all be okay with it, and you follow. If the pack leader assesses the other pack not okay, they're like infringing on our food source, they're not agreeing to what like the arrangement we set up, whatever, then you know let's hope it doesn't get to a. What we're gonna do is the least restrictive level of intervention to secure our food. And if you infringe again, you're going to have the entire pack out, bottom line. But if you're chill and you vibe, we may join pack. You might be part of our pack, because the pack can always grow, and it can change. It can go up and down, just like population. But it's all about local. That's what he says. It's all about local.
And so the pack has to be in control of their local resource, yes?
They do. They have to be in control of their local resource, but they have to have good communication. Like there's a different pack behind the house across the, and that they have an understanding. You know that it's not a secret to anybody that we've had problems with the Department of Sanitation. leaving holes in our fence. Well, on one hand, Golden Wizard's like, that's great. I can break free. I can just roam and do my business as whatever. But at the same time, it's like, that's my stop breaking the fence. And so there's like that the other pack equally hounds these Department of Sanitation guys. Stop screwing up our neighborhood. This is where we sleep. This is where we live. This is where we play. This is where we live our lives. You come strolling down the alleyway one day a week, and you're putting holes in fences, and you're disrupting. We don't like that. So we all agree that it's annoying because it's disrupting order at my house and disrupting order at my house. And so collectively, we give the Department of Sanitation.
Which is why he throws more things into the fence and breaks the fence, which is an endless cycle of ramping up the energies. And this is all caused because the person who's getting paid to haul garbage is paid to do what they do and can get away with it because there's no real
Dr.
order
Lenny,
in a sense. Yes?
he says, I can't control that some nitwit in Department of Sanitation doesn't get canine psych. I
Yep.
try to teach, and they can take it or leave it. What has been a fact, because what has essentially happened is the humans that are cohabitating with have recognized and been displeased. So we've had to alter things. So now the garbage and the recycling bin are placed behind the garage as opposed to the fence, so that if they throw the huge container,
Karen,
it
your sound is getting fuzzy. Can you drop out and come back into the chat room?
sure can.
Okay. And while she's doing that, I'll remind all the listeners that this is the New Way on Steampunk Radio, which you're listening to either on your TuneIn app or in Discord in the chat. And I'm Doc Anytime. I'm interviewing Golden Wizard through Karen the social worker, and Karen is back now. Okay.
Yeah. So ultimately, they, one way or another, their strategy, even though it wasn't direct, because the sanitation guys don't get canine psychology, and Golden Wizard has a beef to pick about that. He said those guys have so many crime log entries you would not, but he has a beef to pick about that. If you're in a job that you regularly, like a post office, like mailman delivery, and you're encountering household pets regularly, right? You think that would you would study a little something something in order to minimize the amount of friction that you would encounter as the day in the life and the walk of the life. He said, but as much as you don't understand canine psychology, it's like, for the life of me, humans.
I
He
have a
says it's so
question.
simple. He said we complicate it. He said you're the only animal on Earth that pay to live.
Yeah. And there is not a base where you can be without paying something set upon the order that has been created by humans that doesn't interact with human scale any longer. And part
Ooh,
of we're exploring is how to get human scale corrected, because the mechanisms we have for ruling ourselves don't give us the desired outcomes. So listening to how canines can enable us as humans to see from a canine perspective, I wanted to ask you, how are the laws of physics different on the scale that you are at about a 10-pound
I'm 12
pinchy?
pounds. Dr. Lenny,
12 I
I'm
was
12
guessing
pounds.
from the
It, it,
picture.
it's all muscle. It's all muscle. And those
Yes,
pictures
I know.
are okay. Um. Okay. Stop it, Golden Wizard. Can I have a chance? Great. Thank you. So, this is interesting. Dennis makes a very good observation. He says, "Sounds like bribery is Golden Wizard encouraging bribery." What, Dr. You shut up. I'm asking Dr. Lenny. What do you think, Dr.
I I think all reward punishment in the situation that we're in now is a form of bribery and coercion. That the idea of having a choice between a carrot or a stick is either taking the bribe or suffering the penalty. And the third option of doing nothing and being left alone needs to be reintroduced from human scale, because I'm tired of getting bothered and harassed by the mechanics of doing things that I don't really need to go through. But
Is what Dennis talking about essentially the common saying? It's a dog eats
maybe it is. And
survival of the fittest in a way.
if he yeah, in some ways it is, but I think on human scale, humans have made it so that the not fittest humans have survived very well because of the concepts we have of life and death. And I'm not sure that those concepts are anywhere close to true. I think there's sometimes when we just need to step back and observe the situation and let things play, because they don't really play in the way we think they're going to play unless we control the outcome. And sometimes chaos is better than control. In chaos theory, if things are going to happen and you need to make change, once you realize you need to make change, changing immediately is not really the best option. The thing is to plan for the change and then wait until the starting conditions end up being such that they enable your plan to work, and then you can make change under the best optimal starting conditions that you think you can get. But once you get into a situation where you started under bad conditions and you don't get to where you expected to be, instead of getting frustrated and upset, end the game, use it as a marker for what you can do better next time, and wait and launch again when you have better starting conditions, because the starting conditions are going to change just as drastically as the reality that we experience. And so a lot of plans that people make for things like survival, just in case we have Armageddon, creates the Armageddon as a self-fulfilling prophecy because they believe in it. And the timeline where we're going to get rescued by space aliens and taken off to have travel to other worlds is also a very real possibility in the minds of a lot of people who've grown up on the same science fiction I have and believed that it was more science than fiction. So now we find ourselves here on a living earth, and we're coming to grips with new relationships of how things are and how things can be. And that's why we're interviewing Golden Wizard today, is because he's got insight that most humans don't really have a chance to hear. So I'd be interested in his answer to the question.
His whole platform, he's kind of mind messaging me. His whole platform is that humans make things too complex, and while he hears what you say, he's just shaking his head back and forth. Same old. Humans always think too much, too hard, too deep, and it absolutely is about control. Control local, the L word. He's really accentuated local, 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 local. Who in name him? He would to name one animal species that would successfully develop quote unquote one world order. I don't care if it's seals, whales, camels, elephants, dogs, whatever it is. Who can decide that there is one order of operating worldwide for one? It's ridiculous. Local, 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 local. And in case you didn't understand me, I said local. You can be very cynical, I'm sorry. Local.
Well, the thing is that local humans don't have control of the natural resources in
And
the local
why
area.
and why is that, he said?
That's a good question. Why is that?
Because look at your history. The false narrative and the true narrative. Look at the history. What has happened to the human race?
I'm not sure that the human race
You have
is a 100-yard dash or a marathon. I think there's a lot of
there.
different human races.
He said it's neither. Time is time. Doesn't matter. What he's saying is that humans have bought into bureaucracy. Okay. And there is no one rule that fits all. There are rules that are inherent based on your collective. And as long as you keep it and respect other locals, like their groups or their packs, it's much easier to maintain order. But it is very grand to think. I mean, take any animal, seal, a dolphin, okay, whatever animal you can conjure up in your mind right now. Take that animal and say to that animal, develop a system that is common law, common practice, common order, common rule for all of that. I don't care if it's panda bears, koala bears, even if they're territorial, like limited to China or Australia, and you expect all of the camels across the entire world to operate on a one size fits. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah, nothing is one size fits all, but in the human condition, this one world order is leading to one world chaos.
So he
And
said, how
so
do you take it back? That's what his question is to you. How do you take it back?
the way that I would take it back is through something called a jubilee, and
Okay.
make it so that everything was initially set so that individuals first can protect what is theirs, but with the idea that the
He likes
land
that. He
belongs to
likes
the
that.
earth, it's not
He
yours.
he really likes that. Protect what is yours. He loves that.
Yeah. And once we've figured out what belongs to each person is then incumbent on paring down to what they need and putting the things that they don't really need but are theirs back into group use so that somebody else who could appreciate it and needs it has it to use. And then as everybody chooses things they need and has it free access because everybody's giving up a lot of stuff that they don't need, once the jubilee is over and everybody is content with all the stuff they have, we start with a new fair baseline playing field and make sure everybody has food, shelter, housing, clothing, communications, education, and the things we know a society needs, but that there is an order of behavior that allows you rewards for doing well or doing things that nobody else wants to do. And it's a matter of getting to a starting condition where the equivalence of each human is set forth in terms that each human chooses what that means. And then once the game starts, the people who really want to work for the benefit of everybody can have well-paid positions to get more, but they can't collect 15 airplanes and 75 cars. That doesn't go along with the idea of supporting the collective. And so there's a lot of things we can do that would change the way resources are distributed if we could do a one-time redistribution scheme where nobody owns any land at all, but then have it so that there can be land grants to people for the land that their families had owned in that, so that the person who owns all the land is the planet on planetary scale, whether we call it Gaia or Earth or anything we want to call it. But the living Earth owns all the land, and the human population, can trade with the land without having to just take, extract, and run with it. And so how
Well,
it works is how it
Golden
works,
Wizard
and you
said
can't
that
get there from here.
right.
Yes?
Well,
Go ahead.
what he says there, his attitude towards land is that he's a, it's like he. Go ahead. What are you gonna say? He was about to say something
I
in his.
see.
You gonna say it?
Well, I kind of think we're all stewards of living Earth. And if
Well,
we can get the idea of that.
oh, he just bingo. Okay. He goes bingo, and I should get a cookie because Dr. Lenny said something brilliant. So
I
I gave
agree
him
with
a
that.
vanilla pizzelle. He loves the vanilla pizzelle. He's got a sweet tooth just like I do. And the first time he ever tasted a vanilla pizzelle, which is an Italian cookie, this boy's eyes just glossed over like, what was that I just... Oh, Dennis is saying more bribery. That's
Of
hilarious.
course.
Oh my. Well, I don't know, but as far okay, he's whining now because he's like more cookie. That was like really bingo. Okay. Um, so he's saying that he considers a steward of Earth, just like you said, and that the land that polices, he doesn't necessarily look at it as his. He just looks at it as his responsibility. And then I also
Yeah.
want to, Dr. Lenny, make sure that you're aware of some of the comments that are being pasted on the Discord. Especially patient 0 is really poignant about okay, expunge all debt. That was probably in response to a question that we asked, you know, within the last 10 minutes. That is exact. When I have listened to the formal senior legal counsel of the World Bank, her name is Karen Houston or Hudson, something like that. She has a unique point of view, given not just her area of expertise and understanding law, international law, as it applies to finances, but also just how we have all been robbed of natural resources within like the land where we're occupied and basically enslaved, and all of that. Like he said, canines would never do that. Canines would be like, okay, this is my block. He's like, we work kind of like gangsters, you know. Um, and the whole thing that has happened human wise. If you talk about taking it back, I agree with patient zero. We need to look at the Federal Reserve and what happened there, and the gross impact that has not just on us, like in America, but the impact it has worldwide.
Well, you know, if we get back to human scale and we look at the corporate economics of the world, we can see that it's nowhere near human scale. It's light years away, lots and lots of fractals. And if we come back to human scale and we work from human scale to rebuild the foundational institutions of the society, it is going to take 20 years to build, as Dennis says. And it's something that if we don't get started, we'll never get to, because it's governed by Fibonacci, and it takes a long time in Fibonacci scale to get off one and actually build a group of two. And in fact, to get to a group of two and build a group of three takes a long time also. And from a solid group of three, it's very easy to drop back to a group of two and a group of one, because three is hard to hold when you're coming from human scale. And we can see the difficulties that even over time, there are stresses that pull a group of three apart. And if it comes back together as a group of three again, it'll become back stronger and more efficient. And if it expands to five, then three is a subgroup of five. But the way fractals work on human scale, groups of 5 to 8 really don't have enough definition that I've worked with for me to be able to tell you how human scale works with groups of 5, because we haven't really had a functional group of 5 yet. But once I crunch the numbers of what's going on, the group that we call the New Way is not only going to be a functional group of 5. From my prediction, it's going to be a functional group of anywhere from 13 to 21, because the metrics that I'm using to define the radio show, which have nothing to do with the personalities of the people, have already demonstrated some trends. But all I can do is look at the trends because I'm embedded on the human scale. And from the human scale, I can collect the statistics, but I can't interpret the statistics, because that would be a violation of the game. But I'm not a player of this game. I am the creator of the game. And so if I would step away from the game as being the host, I could then step back, look at the statistics, and guide things. but we've got 35 shows under our belt, and I set the basis set as a group of 64 shows. So until we get to the 64th show, I don't really want to step back and play a lesser role, because that would be changing the starting conditions that we got underway with. And this is the third start with new starting conditions. So I'm really feeling that the group theory that I'm getting is something way different from what we normally get. Now, I see Patient Zero has mentioned the Venus Project and Jacques Fresco, and that is an awesome topic to discuss at another time, because there's a lot of story and backstory, and I'd love to sit here and get my story straight, because I've heard 3 different stories and I have no perspective of resolution there, and that's something that needs to be looked at.
Okay,
But
but wait a minute. It was brought up. Can you
yeah,
at least like a dictionary or encyclopedia definition of the situation for those of us who have not, including Golden Wizard he's intrigued. He doesn't know what. Can you at least give a 3-minute just synopsis?
okay.
Venus
The
Project.
the
What
Venus
is?
Project and Jacques Fresco is a project that took place in Florida, where they built a new way city, in which it was built on domes and different philosophies, and the outside world was not a criteria for the inside world. And yes, I believe they did actually build it, and they ran it for a few years. But by the time they ran it, Jacques Fresco was in his late 80s, and he had already reached the point where he was beyond running it with his ideas. And the people who were running it, well, that's where I lose the story, is because Jacques Fresco was brilliant, and there's YouTube videos that we can pull up with him talking about his project. Right now, I have a friend named Alosha Linov, who is very, very much like Jacques Fresco. And Alosha is from South Africa, and he's on a United States tour where he's going to be extremely close to where I am in physical reality while I'm house sitting later this week. So I might have some serious adventures and maybe even an interview guest for Monday morning. We'll just have to see how it all comes. But the Venus Project really proposes an alternate future if we can get out of the economic system and into a sustainable new sociological system. And Willie says he got his ideas from Plato, and that makes perfect sense. I have been very, very interested all my 15 years since I got woken up in looking at the idea of playing the world game, a game that Buckminster Fuller invented in the 1950s that would shape an idea for a new world, but it costs like $10,000 to get the training of the game in order to be able to play it with the community. And you need land space and a whole lot of other things that I think we're ready to jump through the hoops in order to play the world game. But I still have to talk to some other people. And my trip in the last 10 days was setting some things in motion that will make it so that we have a way of connecting a lot of different people with different value systems. But I have to be real careful to make sure that the new way is ready to do the analysis of the data and statistics of a group that big. And that's why I'm developing those metrics now. But it was an
Okay.
interesting diversion.
Well, Golden Wizard wants to remind you that he's
Yes, and that's what the purpose of today's show is. So let's go from the Venus Project back to the Golden Wizard Project.
well. What I'm
Um,
asking, I'm interested, especially Dennis's input on this, and I know he's not going to be here much longer. Golden Wizard has somehow schnookered a second breakfast biscuit of the day, and he knows that. Okay, now he's taking away because I mentioned he's afraid that I'm going to take it away. What he likes to do is he likes to take this stuff that is valuable and bury it for or hide it for a rainy day. So is that extortion? Is that corruption? Is that bribery? I have no idea. The fact that he even knowing that it was not in order with how things are, you do not get 2 breakfast biscuits. You get 1 breakfast biscuit. He already knew he got breakfast biscuit, yet he accepted this second breakfast biscuit slipped to him through a room divider, and he has been. Where is it? Okay, he's still holding it. He's looking at me like he's in trouble, and here he goes. He is looking to hide the situation because I think he he's too full in his belly to eat it. Yet he really wants it, like to bury it and put it someplace which is probably like later this afternoon. I caught him trying to dig a faux hole in the couch. So, what are your thoughts about that? Is that correct that he accepts a second breakfast when he knows that he's for the guy that's like order just follow the rules? Is that a bad?
because of his status as star of the show, the second breakfast biscuit is a reward. And if he wants to put it away and appreciate it later, it's just natural that the human gave him a reward since he's such a good star of the show.
He knows it wasn't given to him as an award. He knows it was. He basically triangulated Mama and Papa Bear.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's a
I'm
little
beginning to
sneaky.
really tune in to what Dennis has to say about bribery and corruption. So is he saying one thing, but is he walking the walk or just talking the talk?
He's acting like a human has taught him to act about playing both sides against the middle, and that as long as the candle is long enough, it can keep burning in both directions. But it's a real good way to shorten his ability to control situations, because if it gets out that he's hoarding his breakfast biscuits, then he'll
Uh-oh.
stop getting any of them.
He's not hoarding them.
He's
Believe me, he
just
eats them. He's
okay.
tucking it away for a rainy day because his belly's full. Bottom line.
Ah,
Or else, and if I have to tell you, if the other 3 dogs were around right now, he would be so concerned that they were going to find his that belly full or not, he would eat it all.
yeah. He
But
is.
for a guy that's like totally into order, why wasn't he like, no, Pop, I'm not going to accept this biscuit because Mom already. I got my morning biscuit. Not only that, he's also gotten part. And now he's just carrying this biscuit around neurotically because he knows he has to hide it someplace good to make sure the other dogs will not get it, and he'll remember where he buried it. I mean, it could be anywhere. It could be it could be under folds of like a blanket. It could be in the crease of a. I mean, he has all kinds of interesting hiding. So, what are you gonna do, Golden Wizard? You've got this biscuit. You obviously won't eat it because you're too full. Surprise. What are you gonna do with this? He's he's
Is he
literally
thinking
frozen.
about returning it?
Yes. No, not at all. He's thinking about hiding it. He just picked it up. He moved. He's thinking that maybe he needs, because I'm focusing on it. He's thinking that maybe he needs to indulge, but truly is more interested in putting it someplace as a safe stay for a rainy day when maybe there aren't breakfast biscuits available. Kind of like what you were talking about, people preparing for the apocalypse.
Yeah. I mean, that's what people have been taught to do, is be ready for anything that might come at them. And so because they're ready for what might come at them, it's self-fulfilling prophecy that it will come at them. But if we believe in the living earth and we develop a way of being that is based on true communication between all species, based on water and the vibrations of keeping the water clean, because if we keep the water clean at every scale, then everybody gets clean water. That would be a real good co-species project, and I think that the plants and the animals and the rocks and the stars would all kick in their role.
At this point, I'm wondering, does the canine point of view have valuable for us? I mean, I know he is steadfast in believing that his way is the right way. As we're searching for the new, is there any, like, what if anything from his mindset today could be applicable to? Because clearly he has kind of violated, like he's kind of contradicted himself. Follow order, follow order. Well, if he was following order, he would never have taken that second.
Right.
Somebody else with a crime log would have.
I would say that the overlap between canine and human scales is about 30%. And I'd say that it's
He's
very
telling me it's much
similar.
more than that. It's much. He said the way we live, it rules. It rules. You just you need to go back to ground zero. Just figure out how you guys got where you are, as from where you were when you were just like us. Again, you're the only animals on Earth that pay to live.
Hey, Golden, I hate to tell you this, but I
Oh,
don't
you're good.
think we were.
Oh, you're in the crime log. You disagreed with him.
Yeah, yeah. And I disagree with him because I don't buy the theory of evolution. And the theory of evolution is one of those things that has been taught to humans as the way things have been created. And
Mhm.
I'm sorry, it just doesn't hold water scientifically anymore. And a lot of the constructs that I'm working on as a human on human scale that are bothering me because I don't have people to talk to about it is the relationship of physics. That's why I asked you about canine physics, is because the physics we've gotten at human scale that I came to count on were deliberately taught to me wrong so it would confuse me about how figuring out the way it is could be. And I
Well,
know
that's why
that
he
I'm at
said
the
he
point
doesn't
where
study
it's wrong.
physics. Is because physics, chemistry is chemistry. Language is language. It is,
Oh,
and you just
I
engage
would
in it.
bet.
And he said that I am not interested in what anybody has to teach me. Everything I need to know is based on my experience.
That's why I asked about physics, because just the way his body is shaped perfectly to be what he is is a matter of him in control of his physics by how he uses the muscles.
Here we go.
So he's totally right on in where he's coming from, but he's working with physics at a different scale than humans are, and he's more attuned to his own body because it hasn't been taught out of him that somebody else is responsible for his body. And while you're responsible for making sure he gets the right number of biscuits, it's his responsibility not to eat that second biscuit if it's going to make him fat or out of tune with his own body.
But isn't that very human? Because if I am accidentally, well, no, that's not good. That's not good. Because if I was like, oh my God, I got double paid, well, honestly, no, I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to go out, and besides, this is crypto fiction, so fictional
Right.
Karen, the social worker. So hypothetically speaking, if I was paid double my pay because there was some error, whatever with payroll, aside from the fear that I would get for that because of the way records are held, I gotta tell you that I might just hold on to the extra pay for a rainy day, just like Golden Wizard hung on to a second. He still hasn't eaten this biscuit. He hasn't used the biscuit. He has not eaten it, okay? He knows that his belly is full and he doesn't need any more than what he's already ingested. He doesn't know that, in the future, the carpet could be pulled out from underneath him when he is like how I found alone, jumping through grass, looking for food. So he wants to bury it and save it for a rainy day. It's like just in case. So okay, let's take. I'm accidentally overpaid. I'm gonna take that money and say, I don't want to use it because I realized that there was a mistake. But since there was, let me just put it in a side account just for a rainy day because I never know my employer is going to be dishonest and all of a sudden just not be transparent, and all of a sudden they say we are no.
Yeah, as a contractor, if I'm doing a job for somebody and they double pay me, I will go back and ask, because if I return the money from being double paid, I'm likely to get work as a contractor with them again. And it could be a test to check my honesty and how well I do things. But if it was an employer that was just issuing checks and I got a double check, I've never had that ever happen, and businesses don't give away money.
But
But no,
businesses make errors but let me ask you a question. Is Golden Wizard stealing
no,
the second? Then why are we stealing the second pay? Like, what's the difference between canine and perspective? Like
that's
if
not
he
even the way I
it,
look at it. The way I
okay,
look at it is that if it was coming to me, if it was something where they double paid me, but I knew I was never going to work for them again, and I had a frustrating time because they were difficult to work with, I would take it as my reward and not even think about returning it. But if I wanted to establish a relationship, or if it was a friend who double paid me for something, I would ask to check that they meant to do that. And sometimes the answer is, oh, yes, you did a wonderful job. I paid you twice because I felt you did a wonderful job. Otherwise, it's well, no, I didn't notice. Thanks for pointing it out. And either way, you've solidified your friendship. A friendship is always worth more than money.
I'm laughing out loud right now. Golden Wizard's biscuit, his second biscuit. He still doesn't have room in his belly to eat it, and is just sitting on a pillow. Oh my god! This dog. But boy, you're really prompting. Thank you, Golden Wizard. Oh, he has out. It just drips from his eyes. He just says so much. Okay. But I think these are really, they're tough. They are, everybody would sit and love to say, oh, I'm a human specimen. I am 100% of the time. But you know what? Fear drives us. And, and if I'm afraid that, shit's going to hit, I may want to put something away for a rainy. I'm just being on, think about it. And is the bureaucracy that we have created, or that we have basically um surrendered ourselves to, is is that is that somehow, like, we're getting kind of what we deserve? Because I didn't personally, you didn't, but we've created this bureaucratic monster that would make us even, that they would even put us in a position to be tempted to put something away for.
And it is because we have done this to ourselves that we can choose to not participate and do something else. But the system itself doesn't want us to not participate. And they have so many controls over the system that it's impinging on us at human scale. So we really do have to do something else and get out of the whole idea of countries and banks and doctors and professions, and maybe everybody has to go back to a place where we can start to put the pieces together again, but not from a Flintstones perspective, but maybe a Star Wars perspective.
Oh,
Go
I
ahead.
thought there was only the Jetsons, but there's a Star Wars perspective too?
No, well, the Jetsons and the Star Wars are both the same. It's out in space, future reality. So there's everything that is encompassed in the whole Back to the Future syndrome as a potential timeline. There's everything in the apocalypse. I think in a reality-based living world, we're going to end up with something like the Federation of Planets as a form of human governance, because at least all humans seem to have a say in what's going on. But at the moment, this one world government system where every one of us as a human is totally disenfranchised, and not only disenfranchised, but the groups we belong to are disenfranchised because they're not players in the ultimate game, which is smaller and smaller groups with more and more power, influence, and money. So if everybody who no longer has power, influence, or money figures out something that we can substitute and make sure that everyone has the minimums of food, shelter, clothing, and communications, then we can invent something that we don't even have to pay attention to them in their world. But they won't let that happen. And that's really where the conflict is. So we create it fictionally as this crypto fiction, and then we no longer have to worry. We know we have to play in the real world, but we can escape to our crypto fiction, and maybe tomorrow this will be the real world, because certainly the science fiction that we read in the 1960s and 70s and the dystopic fiction like Brave New World or 1984 both went from fiction to reality. And now we've just been introduced to the reality of Harry Potter. Imagine what magic can do. It's certainly going to require some magic to get out of the current reality if they're throwing nukes around the world. But I think maybe they're not, and maybe it's easier to change reality as long as you can have a mechanism to get there.
Golden Wizard's all about.
Good.
He wants
And
you to know that Zorro the cat just, even though Zorro and Golden Wizard do not have the same interest in breakfast biscuit, it's still that damn second biscuit that he doesn't have enough room for in his tummy. It is still the object of his obsession right now. And he had to put it underneath him, put himself on top. While you were talking, Zorro came up and he felt it was a threat to his food supply for a rain. And now, just as if like the other dogs were in here, which he's eating it, stuffing himself, even though I know he's not hungry and he was ready for like basically a treat, like he's ready for his late morning nap because he is eating it because he found the cat a threat to his food supply.
I see. And so he's going to stuff himself because the norm is I might lose what I have, so I better use it. That sounds entirely human.
Now, does that not mimic exactly what we go through? And how much stuff do we hold with maybe we don't fully understand the quote unquote person that has stepped onto our land or our country or infiltrated. Maybe we haven't had enough communication to fully understand. And if we have, maybe we don't have enough trust in that communication to truly believe that they're not looking to manipulate or to somehow capitalize on us. You know, it's almost like oppositional research or something like that. How do we know? You don't. So Golden Wizard's method is just take the worst case scenario and prepare based on. And do we do that as humans? Should we do that as humans? I don't know. Should we do that as humans interacting with alien races? Look at Dwight Eisenhower and his alleged meetings alien races. What would you do if you were in his position? Because it's like, okay, as much as I would love to take you for your word, right? That, oh, you're a cat and you're not interested in my breakfast. I don't know. So just in case, I'm going to gorge myself instead of hide it. I wanted to hide it for a rainy day. And then this all goes back to the beginning. Should he have even taken the second breakfast, knowing that he already his morning biscuit?
Well, Einstein just came here onto the lap to weigh in.
Way! Oh my God, I love Einstein.
He is now on my shoulder purring. And he's in his place, and he just wants the attention to say that cats would never deal with that way, that the breakfast biscuit would sit there where you put it, the second one, until he was hungry enough to go take it, and then he would take a piece of it and eat it at his own leisurely pace, unless Tripod came in. If Tripod comes in, he will eat as much as he can gorge himself But if there's enough for him and Tripod, he's happy to share.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah. He said
Quite
that.
a difference between the canine and feline mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they were getting soft food, and Einstein was always cleaning up for Tripod before Tripod was finished, I started feeding them their soft food separately.
Mm-hmm.
And Einstein realized that if he behaved himself and allowed Tripod some of the meal, he invariably got more than when he was fed it on his own. And so they're very
Gold Wizard
food
saying yes,
oriented
yes,
also.
yes, 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 yes. He says yes. Positive reinforcement goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
He said in the canine world, it does.
And so what is taken as positive reinforcement and what is taken as positive critical reinforcement is really, really different, because people want praise without having merit behind the praise. And that's something, because people will distort reality to get praise that's not deserved. And the praise seems to be as much of a metric for what people want as a reward as money. And a lot of people value praise more than money. But if praise makes money, they'll falsely give you praise to make money off you. But the controlling interest is in making money off you, not in praising you. And sometimes we get so needy as people that we feel we need praise from people who are taking advantage of our situation. And when you find that has happened, it breaks trust. And building faith and trust is one of those things that you do over a period of time. And if you lose trust in somebody, it's real hard to regain. But sometimes it's worth trying to regain that trust, especially if you know that it was your behavior that caused the breaking of trust. But a lot of times people don't realize their own behaviors at all and keep doing what they do because they haven't taken the step back to look at the behavior separate from themselves. And so they're missing the idea that they can still be who they are, but they stepped over a line with the common behavior. The problem is common behavior has been taught by television, and those of us who've been out of television for so long have no idea how to address what people take as common behavior. So I'm consistently spending way too much in thinking how I'm responding to a person than I am in giving them an honest response. And when I do give an honest response, I get chastised for it. So why bother to give honest responses to people who are going to jump your case because you're
Well,
honest with them?
you might be planting a seed. And honestly, you're not responsible for how they feel. So who gives a Golden
Yeah.
Wizard, I thought I would update everybody. He has now gone underground bunker, which means he goes under, and he's sleeping, and he could not eat the full second biscuit. There's 1/4 of it left, and he is guarding it left and right. And he's making little, like, whimpering sounds, like that.
Will he actually pull it under his blanket?
Oh, he is under the blanket. He is literally under the blanket with the last 1/4 of the second.
Okay, so the biscuit is under the blanket and he's guarding it.
But he ate
Okay.
3/4 of it, even though he didn't want to or need to, because he was still plenty full from cookies as well as the first bit.
Yeah, and that's where
He just doesn't know what to produce. So he is tired right now. So I'm sorry for the last 30 minutes of the show. Golden Wizard has retreated to underground bunker. He is sleeping, and he's got his he is sitting on his biscuit of the second biscuit he was distributed, and he just needs.
We can expect that 2 hours in human time is a lot longer in canine time. And so
Oh,
we've really been pushing the envelope with him.
he's growling
Thank him
now
for being
because
here.
he hears another dog possibly entering the room, and that is a threat to the quarter biscuit he is sitting on underneath his belly while he is underground bunker. This is what goes on in his. You wanted to capture this, Dr. Lenny. This is 2 hours in Golden Wizard. These are his biggest fears, his biggest concerns. This is how he operates. He's got a lot to think about. And to be honest, I think he has given us a lot of food. No pun intended, but.
No, I think the nature of animal reality being explored from human perception is a reality that most humans don't take the time to spend a lot of time with it. We've got our relationship with our own pets, and we all know how they think. And on local scale, the interrelationship with a pet and a human is a bond that is created based on a sense of place. And the place is where the pet it calls home. And when the human comes there, the pet is able to bring a resonance form that takes the human into a place of comfort. And so some of us humans who never leave the site of where they live for months at a time develop a relationship with the pets that when we have to go off and leave them behind, they get worried about us. And over the course of developing trust with both Izzy the Wonder Dog and the boys, I had the very not human ability to be home every day with them full time because I didn't have to go to work. My work was going into the woods with them and studying their behavior. And we would take walks with Izzy the Wonder Dog, Tripod Einstein, and myself and go into the woods where I'd have a writing tablet and I'd sit down at the mercantile or the alchemy shop. And these are just places in the woods that I've dragged sticks and built frames so that I have a place where in my imagination we have another earth, but it's a living earth that talks back to me, and it's where I harvest mushrooms and have had encounters with bears and elk. And it's part of the property, but it's in a way where no humans can get there without having permission to cross the rest of the property. And while there's some humans who have permission, on occasion humans do wander in, and it's sort of interesting to watch the behaviors of humans on land that is privately owned or publicly owned without public access, because they seem to be guilty for being where they are, being outside and trying to enjoy nature. And I watched interaction between a group of 3 people who were trespassing and Peter, who had asked them to leave, and watched the behaviors of the group and also Peter's group because I was a third party observer in a different place. And darn if the trespassers didn't try and pull one over on Peter that he anticipated, and they came up another path that there they came to Peter again. And no, you got to leave off the property, not through the property. And so we eventually found out that there's a camp off of Peter's property, but right next to where Peter's property begins, and that folks who are homeless sometimes get into that camp and use it as a place to bed down overnight. And I would encourage that and try and make it so that Peter's not allowed to disturb them. But when they come onto property with the purpose of disturbing Peter, now we have a whole different scenario and situation to look at.
And
And
Golden Wizard's telling me that he thinks that Peter is.
okay.
He thinks that they think, and he would really like to meet Peter.
Yeah, I think he'd do well with Peter. Peter has done very well with
And
Izzy the Wonder Dog.
And he would like Peter to know that under his watch, he can be sure order would be fine. And that's where, like, Golden, bless his heart, he doesn't have much flexibility. And I think in a human world, we kind of require flexibility. You know, we're not rigid. We see shades of gray. Whether you're a scientist or a social scientist or an artist, we see shades, or we have the capability to. I mean, this is a lot of food for thought. I just want to remind everyone that we're the New Way radio show on Steampunk. You're probably listening on your TuneIn app. You're listening to Dr. Lenny, Karen the social worker, by proxy of Golden Wizard, the dog that is trying to, Golden Wizard is trying to lend wisdoms to how we can do the new way.
Yeah, I call that interspecies cooperation. And
So
I
Golden
believe
Wizard is an agent of interspecies cooperation, speaking on behalf of canines.
Yep. And he is in communications with Izzy the Wonder Dog, who is laying outside on her couch right now with her jacket, feeling really happy that she's got a jacket on. But we got a jacket and she ripped it on a fence, and they got it sewed up and put a patch of leather in it. And so now she looks buff. And she's got her leathers on and she's real happy. And she does.
Is there anybody here in the chat room? I'm sorry, Dr. Lenny, but is there anybody here in the Discord chat room that wants to chime in on any of the ideas that we touched upon, any of the intersections of canine, feline, human world? I just want to give an opportunity to our VIPs. I don't see anybody miking in. If you want to mic in, please do. I would love to hear. If
So
not, that's fine.
What would be the two-letter symbol designation for a feline? Because canine's easy. You can put a K in a...
We have Amber.
Cool.
Hello. Sorry, it took me a minute.
Lovely. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. You sound good. I'm glad.
Thank you. And I know that Amber from England definitely has intuition about animals I'm not going to tell her story, but just so that listeners know, she has got a great connection with her, and she has, if regular listeners know that Wednesdays she reads, and I'm definitely interested to hear what you say. What are your thoughts?
I would just like to say that all illness, or much of illness, is caused, I would say, through repressed emotions. So when your animals get sick, look at their emotional state as a first port of call, I would say, to try and resolve the illness. And the animals that we have in our lives, I strongly believe they come to us for a reason, that they're here to help us to heal and to learn and to grow in wisdom. In my lifetime, I would say the animals that come to us, there's always a reason why that particular animal has come. And when animals, suffer accidents, or they get sick and worry us, there's always a reason, and the reason is usually for us. It's there's something we need to learn. There's something we need to do better.
I agree.
So watch the animals in your life and try to learn the lessons that they are here to teach us. And they are part of us. They're part of, when they're in your home, when they're your animal. To use the biologist Rupert Sheldrake's terminology, they form part of our morphogenic field of that household. You could say it's like a group soul, and we are energetically connected to them. So just as your animals will help you to learn, they will also be affected by the owner as well, on an emotional level, on a psychic level. So, they can act as mirrors for us.
Yes, I agree. So, I mean, I totally get like what we have to gain from them to apply a single household, but how can we apply that large, as Dr. Lenny, human scale? Do you have any thoughts on that? About like,
Well, yeah. So I think it's the same. It's the same, just on a larger scale. So when you've got whole species dying, then again the lessons are there for us to learn, not only on a practical level as a species, but on an emotional level, because the morphogenic fields, they go up in fractally. So you have one in your household, you're a member of a morphogenic field of your community, of your country.
okay,
Another level is your country, and
could
so it's the same principle.
could you define morphogenic, just for the listeners that don't know?
Okay, so the morphogenic field is a term, I believe it was coined by, or it's been presented as a theory by he's retired now, he's a British biologist, he was a dean of Cambridge, and he was working on collecting, Sheldrake, yeah, Lenny, Rupert Sheldrake. So he was collecting research data throughout his career that he wasn't able to publish until after he retired, because of a stigma attached to any scientist that's delving into what many would call psychic phenomena. So he investigated psychic phenomena for decades. And he came up with this theory to explain it, which he termed morphogenesis, I believe, or morphogenic fields. In that, it's just another term, I think, for, you could say, an aura or a soul or a psychic connection. It makes it more palatable, if you like, to the scientists. So the idea is that everybody is connected or part of various levels of morphogenic fields, energetic electromagnetic connections between individuals and groups and species, and that we are all members of multiple morphogenic fields, multiple electromagnetic groups, if you like.
Okay, may I ask you,
Mm-hmm.
do morphogenic fields I mean, is it even possible for them to be under like morphogenic order of one species? Or like I think Golden Wizard has been kind of purporting this entire time that it and he is snoring like a mother effer behind me. All right. But he has been purporting like the whole time today is like local and you can manage your local field, let's say, but it's foolish basically is what I'm getting from him is that it's foolish to try and apply that a world spread dynamic that all people of or all beings of one follows. What do you, I mean, what are your
Okay, I think I got the gist of that. You're breaking up quite a lot for me, but I think I got the gist. So what you're saying is he's saying it's foolish to try to affect the global morphogenic fields as an individual.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would disagree. I wouldn't say it was foolish. I would say the greatest effect you're going to have is on your own, is on a smaller scale to begin with. Your own morphogenic field, right? The one that just is consistent of your physical, your mental and spiritual body. In isolation is where we all must start because it must come from within. So we must heal thyself first.
Lee said
And
that. Lee actually said that. Where do we start? We start by examining ourselves. That was one of my golden nuggets. Yeah.
exactly. From that, you will, by doing that, inevitably affect everybody who shares or is in close proximity to your home morphogenic field. So your spouse, your children, your pets, your animals. And they will go through healing responses as a knock-on effect of you doing the same for yourself. But I do say that once you get to the point where you feel able to, where you're stable enough, where you feel that you've healed enough emotionally to do so, and then there is no reason why you cannot then project an impact onto a global scale. Because the more people that do that, it's like a drop of ink in a bowl of water. One drop of ink is not going to make any difference. But the more drops of ink that are going in, then slowly that water is going to change. So if the bowl of water is Gaia, everything and everyone that lives within and on Gaia, and each drop of ink is representative of somebody having an impact of changing themselves for the better, then the more people that do it, you will be affecting Gaia. And that will happen regardless of whether you intend it to or not, because by changing yourself, you are part of Gaia. But you can do it with intention as well. And that's why we get these global mass meditations going on. Because science has shown and proven that prayer / meditation is basically very similar. It's the same thing. It's the intention that matters, not how you do it. Whether you're sitting in a circle using candles and spellcraft, or whether you're meditating in a group, or whether you're praying in church, the intention of healing Gaia, of the best interest for Gaia as a whole, is what is important. Everything else is just a way to focus your brainwave patterns into getting into a meditative state. And
Amber,
science has shown that has a massive impact.
Golden Wizard
Yes.
is in a trance state. And I can't even believe this, but he is basically asking you, he wants you to be auntie because he loves your and your brunette, and that's just his thing. He wants to know what can he do forward everything you just said. Like what can in the canine world?
In the canine world, I think that humans are custodians, so we are here to assist our animal partners to do this. And So I think at that you need to work together with him in order to do this. And by
But
healing
Lisa,
yourself, you will help heal
I'm
him.
working with, but I don't know that she's given me her all back. That's what.
Right. Well, I would suggest just keep on doing what you're doing, Golden Wizard, because whether you realize it or not, your intentions will be having an impact on your mistress. So
He has one yes or no
whether he
question.
realizes or not.
He has one yes or no. Do you think he is a super?
Yes, of course he is.
Okay. He opened his eyes from his sleep. He's like, I love that woman. So cute. He loves your wisdom, and he really wishes he lived in your house. Not okay. I'm trying.
I'm sure Tilly would disagree with that.
Could you imagine Tilly and Golden Wizard together? Tilly would totally kick his ass.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh
well,
my
actually,
God, that's so funny.
Actually, I would say that Suki would be the greatest threat, because Suki, out of the two of them, Suki's the only one I've ever witnessed attacking dogs. So, Suki would be the greatest threat. She's incredibly territorial and not scared of dogs whatsoever. She's even tried to break up dog fights between two big, like Labrador-sized dogs fighting in front of her, and she literally will come from the bedrooms, diving down the stairs into the kitchen to try to break up the fight.
So this tells me, Dr. Lenny, you need to have a show that interviews Suki, not Golden Wizard.
Well, we can arrange that now that the process has been.
Suki is clearly, she's holding the answers, clearly.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. Maybe her answers, but.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing.
She's tortoiseshell, like one of those dark tortoiseshells without any white on her. So ginger and black, basically.
Okay. Yeah, those are pretty.
She's famous, Suki.
God, Dr. Lenny is like, yeah! Woo!
She's the one that took a ride.
They're so wise!
Suki's the one who took a ride on Santa's sleigh a few years back. According to her tracker, and it was all in the international press because I alerted my local newspaper, and it just got picked up from there because it was on Christmas. It was on Christmas morning, and it was incredible.
Holy crap! That's amazing. And so Dr. Lenny,
you've got 10 minutes. Tell the story.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so I think it was, I can't remember what year, it was 2013, 2014 maybe. And no, it was probably 2014 because I was trying out different GPS tracking devices because my other cat Tilly had gone missing for a month. I was lucky to get her back. She was stolen basically, but somehow managed to escape. So I was trying out different tracking devices. Actually, it must have been 2013. So there was this tracking device that was a data logger. It wasn't a live tracking device. So you attached it to their collars, and then you could plug it into your computer afterwards, and it would tell you where they've been on the GPS map. And so she was wearing this for a while. And so Christmas, I think it must have been Christmas Day or Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, I took it off her and I plugged it into the computer to see where she'd been the last day or two. And it was about early hours of the morning on Christmas Day, so about 2, 3 a.m. And it showed her, now I may get the specific speeds wrong, but I'm doing my best to remember. It showed her in the next street over, she'd gone from my home to the next street over, and then suddenly, at very great speed, and it was something like 700 kilometers per hour, she had gone from that spot several miles away into the middle of a local river, flew straight there at that speed. Then she had come back and then gone again near to there, again at very great speed. And then it showed her path like you would imagine Santa Claus on his sleigh going over the rooftops of these houses in a nearby area in the same city. So she's traveling over these rooftops of the houses for a while, and then at great speed gets brought right back home and dropped off. So I thought this was hilarious because it literally looked like she'd jumped on Santa's sleigh, got transported like within seconds, miles away, and then took a trip over houses dropping off presents, and then he must have seen her and brought her back. So that's why I contacted the local newspaper and said, I think my cat hitched a ride on Santa's sleigh. And there was no explanation for it. The manufacturer of the paper contacted the manufacturer of the tracking device. And they said, well, sometimes satellites can be in the wrong position and we can get erroneous readings, which yes, can happen. But from my experience with other trackers, it's not that common. And I've used trackers now on my cats ever since. And I've never seen anything like that again. Because the speeds were just incredible and just the way it happened. And the timing as well. Christmas Day. So yes, it's my story. I think that she hitched a ride on Santa's sleigh. And thank you very much, Santa, for bringing her back to me. Because I would have been upset otherwise.
I think it's an excellent example of how cartoon physics sometimes has more reality than true physics. In that since they decided to tell us only parts of true physics, when we get those things happen in reality and we realize that they can indeed happen, it makes us question what else really indeed happened.
Well, yes. I mean, I swear as a child I heard Santa's sleigh. I think my sister and my brother swear they saw his sleigh one night. And I can remember hearing the bells. And I do genuinely believe now that if you believe that something is real strongly enough, you can literally create it or draw it or create it into existence, even if only briefly. So the imagination is an incredibly powerful thing.
I have personally climbed into a Santa suit and been Santa, and there's a transformation that goes on that when you're wearing the suit, you really do become the person involved. And so I've played the role of Santa before.
Dr. Lenny, please tell me you have a picture of the situation.
I'm pretty sure I do. I would have to plug in my save device and I'd have to find it. But if I can figure out the year that I did it, I'm sure I could find the picture.
Nice.
And so
amazing.
It really does. I truly believe that if you believe in something, you can make it into your reality. But if people come and burst your bubble and you no longer believe in a reality that you used to believe, you can't get back there again. It's like you've committed some sort of offense that you've been banished for.
I think that's why it's traumatic when we're told that these things don't actually. Easter bunnies, tooth fairies, because it's so magical, right?
Yeah.
I think
your mind is incredible.
With Easter bunnies, we had a take-back policy where we bred a lot of rabbits for Easter, and we get maybe 35 or 40 rabbits, go to the store, and people who buy their children rabbits need to have an out that's a take-back policy, so that after a month when the rabbit's no longer cute and cuddly, they can take it back to the person that produced the rabbits and sort of have it like being a rent-a-rabbit for Easter. And that's a viable business model that we used to make about $100 or $115 on each year and put it directly into rabbit food so that the rabbits supported themselves And I'd say we got 50% of the rabbits that we sold back on our take-back policy. And we also got several rabbits that were not ours that we took anyway, because, you know, people had the rabbit and they had to do something with it. But we also had a policy that we always kept a diversity of different colored rabbits and such, so that if the child wanted to come and visit their rabbit at any time, they could come and we'd have a similar colored rabbit in the cage that we could convince the child it was their rabbit. And we bred the rabbits specifically for their personalities, so that the rabbits who the child would visit at our farm would all be cute and cuddly and well behaved adult rabbits, because they were the ones that we used as breeders for our thing. And so we'd have maybe 8 rabbits in breeding at any given time, alternating months. But for Easter, well, right now our rabbits would be breeding for Easter, so that we'd have rabbits that were just the right age to give away at Easter time. Karen?
Dr. Lenny, I want to give attention to the fact that our show is almost. For those listening, we are the KNEWWEIGH radio show on Steampunk Radio. You're probably listening through your TuneIn, and you're listening to Dr. Lenny Tom, Karen the social worker, and Golden Wizard, the whatever, and
Mel.
And Mel, who with great, as well as the numerous number of people contributing from the chat room of Discord for the KNEWWEIGH. Again, the KNEWWEIGH, KNEWWEIGH, WEIGH. We hope you'll tune in again tomorrow, 10 to 12 Eastern Standard Time. And we're just looking for collaborative work to figure.
Okay, you passed the point where the station went off into Alex Jones land, so we're done good.
Yay!
Hey! Nice show.
Yes. Interview with a Dog will definitely be one of the highlights that goes down when the highlights of the show come out. This will be one of those episodes that will be highlighted, because I think Golden Wizard performed admirably and got to get his second biscuit, and we had some fun with his behavior, and it really does go to show what human behavior can be like when we make a canine think humanly.
Yeah.
Right now, he is like so exhausted. He's sleeping on top of the quarter part of that second biscuit, and he feels like he has failed us.
Oh, why?
He doesn't believe that he has given us enough conviction for how to be self-sovereign. That upsets him, because he's a perfectionist.
Bless him.
But he loves you. He said all.
Just call me the dog whisperer.